Hey, what's up guys? It's Sujit with Guys Gab, and today's going to be a fun one as we've got the keys to the 2021 Toyota Supra 2.0T. So hop on in and let's go for a ride. Now, as many of you know, Toyota recently brought back the Supra after a nearly 20-year hiatus, exciting Supra enthusiasts around the world who've been begging for a new Supra ever since the beloved Mark IV was discontinued in the US in 1998. And last year, Toyota answered our prayers with the A90. Last year, there was a single model, it was called the Supra 2.0, powered by a 3-liter that put out 335 horsepower. I had a chance to drive one briefly last year, and it was a riot. It was just super fast, a ton of fun. So for 2021, Toyota kind of took a page out of their old playbook, and they introduced a base engine, the 2.0. And you may remember the 3rd gen Supra, the 4th gen Supra. You had a base model, which was typically a 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder without a turbo, and then you had the top-of-the-line model, and that's exactly what Toyota's doing again. You got the 3.0, which has actually been raised this year to 382 horsepower, which is going to be total insanity, and then you have this, which has only 255 horsepower and 295 foot-pounds of torque. Now I know what you're thinking, only 255 horsepower? But no, trust me, I've taken this out on the roads and there's more to the equation that you're missing. It's 200 pounds lighter, so it's more nimble. Toyota's official 0 to 60 number is right at 5 seconds, and honestly I think they're underrating it a little bit. It feels really quick. While we don't have official numbers, we expect the car to come in right around the 40,000 range, so you're saving about 10 grand over the 3-liter. To the common person, you really can't tell the difference. You've got 18-inch wheels instead of 19s. Honestly, I think the 18s look better, a little more compliant on the roads. You've got a smaller exhaust pipe in the back, but nobody's going to know. So to everyone else, it's like you're the hero driving this gorgeous car, and you're saving 10 grand in the process. But look, I can talk about this car all day long. The best way for us to experience this is to hop in and go for a ride. So let's go. So we're here inside the 2021 Toyota Supra 2.0T, and you know, before I get into the nitty-gritty about how the car drives and handles and everything else, I thought I'd pick up my buddy Chris. He's a big Supra enthusiast, and while he had a chance to drive the 2020, you know, he hasn't had a chance to drive the 21s, nor the 2.0, so I figure let me pick him up, see what he thinks about it. He can maybe give some different insight than me, given that he's already got some experience with the previous model. So let's go pick him up and let's see what he thinks. So we just picked up my friend Chris, and like I was telling you, he has had a chance to drive the 2020 Supra, so I thought it'd be good to bring him in and, you know, get some perspective and just have some fun. So hey man, how's it going?
Chilling, man.
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited to be in the Supra again, because the last time I drove it was the first drive for media when they launched with the 3-liter turbo 6-cylinder version with, what was it, 335 horsepower and what, 330 foot-pounds of torque. And you know, I was immediately impressed with the car from the get-go. In all honesty, like, yes, the car is a BMW underneath, through and through. You can tell from the interior, the platform, It's got the same 8-speed automatic transmission as the Z4, even the same engine. But hey, there's a reason why Toyota went to BMW for this stuff. Is because, let's be honest, BMW is the best in those fields. They make the best inline six. Well, one of the few that only makes an inline six. You still have other automakers that do it, but BMW has been the go-to for all these years since everyone started using V6s. And clearly, BMW knows what they're doing when it comes to sports cars. So it's exciting to be here in the 4-cylinder version, which I'm curious about because I'm particularly not a fan of 4-cylinders, and that's just mainly because of the way they sound. I think they sound like a swarm of angry wasps when you put your foot down on it. But that's
yeah,
me.
you know, and I'll be honest, when they told me they were delivering the 4-cylinder, I was like, really? And you know, on paper, 255 horsepower in 2020 doesn't sound like a whole lot of power. I mean, you get Camrys putting out over 300, but the first time I got in the car and I just got on the gas, I was like, holy crap, this car really moves. And you know, I think part of the thing is it's 200 some pounds less than the regular Supra 3.0, and it's got an assload of torque. I mean, 295 foot-pounds of torque at a nice low RPM. You know, I can just put my foot into it like here, and the car just leaps, and it just pulls and pulls and pulls with no end in sight, and I find myself just giggling like a schoolgirl, so.
I can already feel the deficit in weight, just even as a passenger. Like I see your steering motions, and I felt as we went around those turns, you could definitely feel that there's a lighter lump up front. You know, which
For sure.
You know, some could argue that the 4-cylinder version might actually be better than the 6-cylinder version in the handling department. Well, obviously because you have that weight deficit, and there's I mean, both cars have 50-50 weight distribution, but the ultimate point is you just have 200 pounds less, which is a lot for a 2-seat sports car.
And I think that's what Toyota's made a really interesting choice this year. They were like, hey, we don't want the difference between the two cars to be too similar, so they upped the horsepower in the 3.0 to 382 horsepower, which is just a ridiculous number. They're saying 0 to 60 in like 3.9 seconds. This is 5 seconds, but honestly I think they're being a little conservative. It feels a whole lot faster than that. So it's going to come down to price. If they price it $10,000 difference, and when you see how much performance this car offers, I think a lot of people are going to be like, you know what, as much as I'd like power seats and heated seats and, you know, some of the other things that may not be available on the 2-liter, it's all said and done. I mean, this is the car I would buy.
But at the same, you know, just to continue that point, you're not buying this thing because you want luxury. If you want luxury with the factor, you know, get a Porsche.
Yeah.
Like, simple as that. You're getting this because you're getting a lot of driving fun and performance for the money. You're not getting this because you're getting heated and cold seats. You're not getting this because you want heads-up display and you want, like, you know, semi-self-driving cruise control, which, you know, that's a whole nother argument. But at the end of the day, you know, and it's what I said in my review for the 6-cylinder Supra for the drive, was just, you know, I'm ultimately happy that Toyota stepped away from their, you know, beige kind of boring car mantra, just making Camrys and Avalons and stuff like that, coming back to make sports cars again. I mean, they already showed that they did that with the 86, which is a car I absolutely adore. And at the end of the day, the Supra's back, man. Like, who cares if it's based on a BMW? It's just the fact that it's back. Yes, I feel like it would have made much more of a statement for Toyota if they did it themselves from the ground up. You know, they created their own inline six, and, you know, they created their own 4-cylinder. But it's just kind of the time that we're in. Like, we all know Toyota has the money to do it, but like, they're also a business, and so they have to deal with profits, and they have to make their bean counters happy. We all know that bullshit.
But they heard the enthusiasts and they brought it back, and if they had to quote unquote cut some corners and do a joint venture, at least they did a joint venture with BMW. Like you said, they're the best, they're the ultimate driving machines, and
at least they did it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just dive into more of what you think. So do you think it lives up to the name?
I do, and I think people will find this hard to understand, but the original Mark IV Supra twin turbo, 320 horsepower, 0 to 60 about 5 seconds. Here we've got a 4-cylinder with equal performance, straight line, and I think it handles better. I mean, yeah, we can't boost this up to 1,000 horsepower, but
probably can with the right now.
Yeah, you never know, but sure. But I think what Supra originally stood for and what this car delivers today is completely in line. So yeah, they do a good job, I will say, and I think you'll see a lot of people on the internet saying the same thing. Is the car's a little twitchy. It will tend to snap at you if you go into a corner a little aggressively. Sort of reminds me of like the S2000s. And I don't know. I mean, how was your experience when you drove the one last year?
So I'm actually very familiar with that topic, and it's been a hotly debated topic among all of our automotive colleagues. Let's see, some of my friends at Jalopnik and The Drive wrote about it. And even there was a very famed Nürburgring racer. His name is Misha Chowdin. My apologies, Misha, if I'm mispronouncing your name. But he's the one who brought to light that he thinks something is wrong with the Supra's alignment from the factory. Again, I haven't been able to get this car on an alignment rack, so I haven't been able to actually dive into that myself personally. But he does a really good job at laying out the video about him putting the car on an alignment machine, seeing the specs there, and then making his own adjustments. I forget exactly what he did, but he did some adjustments with the alignment of the car to fix that kind of twitchiness and that uneasiness feeling of the car, especially when he's driving on the Nürburgring, which it'll definitely make itself apparent. But when he fixes it, it's all good and dandy. But like when I drove the 6-cylinder version, I had the car on the track. Toyota had us drive the car at the whims of our own skill on the track. And I gotta say, at first, with the traction on and stability control on, the car was planted as hell. Like, I could literally chuck it in a corner and the car's computers would, make sure I stayed on the road and make sure I kept the car's composure. When I flipped the nannies off, I still felt very much so that I was well in control. The car still felt planted, and if I came into a sharp corner too hot, it was very, very, very easy and predictable to be able just to correct that understeer with just a quick jab with the throttle and some counter steer, just so you'll get some oversteer action. But it was totally predictable, something that was not out of my spectrum of handling and skill. So I felt like the car was totally fine then, but then again, those were pre-production models. And one thing you have to know is that automakers go through tooth and nail to make sure that the cars are perfect so that us media folk can drive it and have the best impressions of the car. The possibility so far, what people think it is that there's just an alignment issue from the factory. I can't verify that, I can't confirm that, but I'm just letting you know that that's what the situation is. Do you feel that could be the case here with the 4-cylinder?
I sure hope so, because otherwise it's a riot. It handles great. It's just I don't want to get surprised coming into a corner and then the back end just tries to swap with me. And
does it do it with stability control on?
Yeah, it does a little, but you can feel the stability control kind of kick in and save yourself. It's just unsettling, I want to say. And I haven't played with it with the stability control off yet because I'm not looking to crash this car and, get kicked off of Toyota's list. So, I don't know.
All right, so how about any drawbacks? Plates?
I'm 6'2". The car is pretty small. My knees are hitting the door and the center console. The seats are a little heavily bolstered, so...
Here, let's go on the highway. Show me this 4-cylinder.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna hop on the interstate real quick.
So, while I wouldn't mind this at all on a racetrack because, hey, you want to stay planted and stuff like this, if this was my daily driver, I would have to probably lose a few pounds, get a little shorter. But I had a buddy in here earlier who's considerably shorter, and it fit him like a glove, and he was just loving it. No, his daily drivers.
I felt a little bit of that uneasiness.
Yeah. Hell, if this slow guy in front of me will get out of the way, I can really show you what this car can do.
But just to kind of echo what we were talking about, kind of the alignment issues. So what's made cars like Porsches and BMWs and even Mercedes-Benzes so good in the corners is that they know how to make a good handling suspension that's got what's called mid-corner composure. So like say you're in a corner, you hit a bump, the car just sticks to the ground because the suspension knows how to absorb it, and you know the geometry just knows how to settle the car, keep the car planted. We were just going calmly around an on-ramp so we could get on the interstate, and I'm not driving, I'm a passenger, and the tires were loaded a little bit because obviously we're in an on-ramp, and I felt like when we went over the bump, I felt like the car just wanted to skip. I was like, that's something you get on a car that's not as well engineered as something as this is supposed to be. So I could definitely see, even just from the passenger, I could just feel it in my butt, like how the car just wanted to skip a little bit. And I was like, I don't remember feeling that on the 6-cylinder version I drove on the first drive. So the ultimate question, would you buy one?
I mean, I have a lot of history. Next one. Yep. Okay, Chris. So,
sorry, I'm not the best at giving directions. That's so nice.
You know, I had, my first car was an 82 Celica GT. Lost it after the Supra that a family friend had. And to me, this feels like kind of the spiritual successor to that. I mean, you know, hey, the Supra of the 80s was the faster of the two, looked a little different. If I had the money and was in the right state of mind, yeah, I think I would. And I'm the kind of guy that, you know, I'll give up some creature comforts and not. I mean, I drove a Boxster for 10 years, had no back seat, had a very useless trunk, but I loved every minute of it because, you know, for me, it's all about the drive. And this is kind of the same way.
A little bit of tire wear. You guys probably could hear that.
Yeah, I mean, it's also crappy New Jersey road, so I'm not going to hold that against them. On the flip, we've got Michelin Pilot Super Sports, super sticky, the same tire that are on the 3.0. And, I mean, that's why we're able to hug those corners back there. It's killer.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I will address the one elephant in the room, which actually aggravated me this morning, and I don't know if we get this on camera or not, but we're going to try. If you've been following the Supra, you heard about this infamous wind buffeting problem, where at speed, you can't really roll the windows down because you get this horrible buffeting. And I'm like, oh, you know, it's the internet, they just like to complain. So it was nice and cool this morning.
He's like,
wow. We have people waving at us because they love the cars. I mean, yeah, and I've been getting that all day long. You know, it's just, this car's turning heads everywhere. But anyway, yeah, people talk about this wind buffeting thing, and you know how the internet just likes to blow things up and make them a bigger deal than they are. But it was like 59 degrees this morning, and I didn't really feel like running the air, and I was like, oh, let me just roll the windows down and get some nice fresh air. So I went like this, and I immediately went deaf. This is the most insane thing I've ever heard in a car.
Oh my god, it's like having a sedan or an SUV with 4 doors and just rolling back the rear window.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a jackhammer in your eardrums. I don't understand how something like that got past QC, not only for 2020, but again in 2021.
I mean, let's be honest though, like, I don't think they were focusing on how well the noise buffeting is, because I think they're also just thinking about how to make the cars, because I remember talking to Tetsuya Tada, who was the chief engineer for this car, and obviously performance was the focus, and that also includes aerodynamics of the car.
Yep.
So you're going to be driving fast with the windows closed, ideally.
Yes.
You know, so they're trying to make it as slick as possible, not just to make it slick in the air through, you know, for performance reasons, you're going to want to get off here.
Okay.
But, you know, for also fuel economy, we have to be honest, we're in the era of fuel economy and all that stuff, so
sure.
We're doing it for fuel economy. So, yes, it kind of sucks because and I'm sure like you do, many other people like to drive with the windows down. So.
Yeah, stick your arm out, you know, flex a little bit. It's a weird one. I mean, it's not a deal breaker to me necessarily, but it's when you're spending $40,000 to $50,000, you sort of don't want that to be a problem and tell your passenger, hey, you can't roll the window down.
Oh, and let's talk about that horn.
Yeah.
Again, a very, very minute detail because, like, again, you're in a Supra, you're in a sports car, who cares about the horn? But
yeah, listen to this. I mean, it sounds like a 91 Fiesta. I just was like, what in the world is going on?
Right here. Stay on this road here.
Okay, this is the trippiest road I've ever seen.
This wasn't here when I was back here. Anyway.
But yeah, so someone cut me off yesterday. I hit that horn, and I feel like they probably giggled when they heard that.
It's a shitbox horn.
Definitely not worthy. I mean, I want to get in a Z4 now and hit the horn and see what it sounds like, because I'm almost positive it doesn't sound like this.
It's right here.
Okay. But again, niggling points in an otherwise, amazing car that really exceeded my expectations. And, I'm glad to see that you can feel a lot of the same stuff I feel as a passenger, especially since you've had some experience with last year's model.
Yeah.
So, kudos to Toyota. I think, we haven't seen a lot of them on the road. I looked up the sales number. They're relatively low. And as a result, I mean, I've had people following me, taking pictures. I drove through Cars and Coffee this morning. People were losing their minds because it's a great-looking car. And I think with the introduction of the 2.0, which is a little more attainable to people, we're going to see more of them on the road in the coming months. And that's exciting because, we had a 5-year build-up to this car, and it's a shame that we're not seeing more of them. So there you have it, the 2021 Toyota Supra 2.0. Now coming into this, I honestly didn't know what to expect. You hear 4-cylinder, you think, underpowered, whatever. Definitely not the case with this car. It's got so much get up and go. It handles incredibly well. And I mean, let's talk about the price. It's freaking amazing. So I think Toyota really knocked it out of the park, and we're probably going to see a lot more of these on the road in the future. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give us a like. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of the video. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button below. As always, this is Sujit Patel with Guys Gab. Thanks for watching.